Hello, we had some new cards revealed for the new Hearthstone expansion, Rastakhan's Rumble. First up is Spirit of the Bat. It is a 2-mana 0/3 for Warlock. It's one of the new spirit minions that have stealth for 1 turn, and with this one, after a friendly minion dies, give a minion in your hand +1/+1. It definitely goes well in Warlock. I think it's also good that it's a 2-mana 0/3 as opposed to Rogue's Spirit of the Shark, which was 4 mana. Having it as a cheaper minion is definitely less of a risk. And as we'll see with more cards in Warlock, they're definitely going with sort of a hand buffing style. Honestly, this is a pretty good card. 2 mana for 0/3 is pretty easily negated with just buffing 2 minions with this. So honestly, I think this is going to be a really strong card and kind of a unique option for maybe even aggro decks. It'll be interesting to see if they can make this work, and if there will be a Warlock deck that does use a lot of hand buffing. If there is going to be one, they need Hex the Bat. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is Warlock's Loa, or their Beast God, and it is an 8 mana 1/1 Beast legendary with the battle cry, fill your board with copies of this minion. Just buffing this with 1/1 stats basically gets you an additional 7/7 in stats. If you're able to hit this with a card like Soul Infusion, that's a board full of 3/3s. I still think it's going to be pretty tough to get this card to work though, because there's not that many hand buffs in Warlock, and everything just kind of has to fit perfectly in order for this to work. It definitely seems like they're printing some more, so we'll see if this actually ends up becoming a thing. Definitely a cool option, and if there are enough hand buffing cards that could work in aggro, like Soul Infusion already does, then I could definitely see Hex the Bat as a late game option. Next up is Surrender to Madness, 3 mana priest spell that reads, destroy 3 of your mana crystals, give all minions in your deck +2/+2. What is this card? Okay, so I guess taking some inspiration from Warlock, you're able to destroy 3 mana crystals, but then it's like you're playing a double prince without the 2 mana minion requirement? I'm a little flabbergasted by this card, because this could clearly give you such a good advantage if you play this on turn 3. But at the same time, you can kind of see that if you do play this on turn 3, you have to restart your curve, and while your opponent will have 4 mana, you'll have 1. And this isn't like Druid where you can get more mana quickly. You're gonna have to take your time to meet up with your opponent to get to 10 mana. From a design standpoint, I don't love cards that require you to draw them to drastically make your deck better, but maybe because it destroys 3 of your mana, this actually isn't that good in the beginning anyways. You could run a bunch of smaller minions, and then it doesn't really matter that you're behind in mana, but then if you don't get this card, it really screws up your game. You can run 2 of these in your deck, so I think it wouldn't be terribly inconsistent, but you would get unlucky sometimes. This is a crazy card. I kind of like it in Priest. I don't know if it would be overpowered, underpowered. I have no idea about this card, so let me know down below. Next up is Immortal Prelate, 2 mana 1/3 Paladin minion. With the Death Rattle, shuffle this into your deck, it keeps any enchantments. Dude, I am excited about this. I absolutely love buffing Paladin with the quest, with Linessa. It seems like they've been really trying to get Paladin kind of a mid-range buffing deck. So Immortal Prelate is kind of like Primal Fin Champion in that it lets you get more enchantment value, except instead of it returning to your hand and being able to play it again, it literally just shuffles into your deck and it keeps the buffs. While this isn't as good for the quest, or for buffing Linessa more than just once with a spell, it does give you a big buffed minion for only 2 mana. With Spike Rich Steed, this almost becomes a 2 mana Voidlord. And it's not just spell buffs because it keeps any enchantments, which can be spells, but also things given to it by battle cries. So something like Bone Mare can give this the 4/4 stats and taunt, and the next time it comes into play, it will still have that. If this sees play, it's definitely going to be a target for silence. It's a really strong card for a buffing Paladin, and I think this single card will make the deck a lot better. Next up, we have Void Contract, 8 mana that destroys half of each player's deck. I mean, this is, what are we doing here? If you gotta print 135 cards, you may as well give Warlock one of the meme ones. I mean, this is really savage. I don't know why you would want to give the Hearthstone community a play like this where they can destroy their opponent's gameplay, as well as their hopes and dreams. Now, obviously, it's not the strongest play in the world, because basically you're paying 8 mana to have something terrible done to your opponent and to yourself. Not only that, but you have to get to 8 mana in order to play this card, so by that time, your opponent will have drawn, I don't know, 15, 20 of their cards. If you're lucky, you can, in the early game, combo this with Blood Bloom and destroy a lot more cards. It's an interesting concept because I don't know really how Warlock can take advantage of this card. Maybe they complete the quest and they have value that way, but it's not like they're a class that can add more value to their deck, or at least they're not really well known for it. I think you do have to give it to Blizzard that our cries were answered, because this card could definitely mess up the combo decks like Shudderwalk and, more importantly, Druid. One thing about this card is I don't know if it would show what cards got destroyed. It might show it in the action panel, but I would assume that it doesn't, so your opponent might end up getting half of their deck destroyed, and they won't know if they have Hadronox or not. It is a peculiar card for sure. I think everyone deserves a chance to try this at least once. I'm hoping it's not a regular thing, and instead it's just a rare card that sometimes is shown up to prevent combo decks from trying anything funny. Next up is Savage Striker, 2 mana 2/3 Druid minion with the battlecry, deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack. I kinda wish this was a beast and that they were going in a beast druid direction. The treant thing was fun and all, but we want beasts to make druid even worse. Anyways, I think this is kind of an interesting concept. 2 mana 2/3 is a pretty strong stat line. Combo this with just your regular hero power and it deals 1 damage, which isn't bad, but it does require you to use more mana. On the other hand, if you use this with the hero card's new hero power, then you're looking at 2 mana 2/3 deal 3 damage, and then your hero also can deal 3 damage with their attack. I think that's a much better use for the 4 mana. So I could see this seeing play in a token druid or a tempo druid, and it's kind of a faster card, which I think is good because hopefully it won't benefit the dreadful taunt druid. It's risky printing any good card for druid right now, so hopefully this isn't a mistake. Next up is Spring Paw. 1 mana 1/1 beast for hunter with rush, and the battle cry, add a 1/1 lynx with rush to your hand. I don't know, Quest Hunter anybody? It kind of reminds me of a less resilient version of Firefly, in that you're going to get 2 different minions from this card, but the 1/1 stats is a lot harder to keep on the board than the 1/2 stats. It's definitely a tough card on its own. I think you need to be able to trade into it right away, and that doesn't really help too much with aggro a lot of the time, but I could definitely see this being a powerful pick in Build-A-Beast. Having a cheap option to build with another beast and give it rush is going to be nice. This could see play in an aggressive deck, but I think you'd have to convince me. Next up is Baited Arrow, 5 mana hunter spell, deal 3 damage, and overkill, summon a 5/5 Devilsaur. Okay, I get what you're doing. You don't need an egg to get a Devilsaur now. Okay, I'm not mad. So overkill is the new keyword that basically means if you deal excess damage to a minion, then it will give you the reward. So dealing 3 damage means that if you kill a minion with 2 or less health, you're gonna get the 5/5 Devilsaur. And with this card, you definitely want to get the overkill, because 5 mana to just deal 3 damage is pretty trash. Again, it gives you the flexibility to just be able to deal 3 damage, but really if you have to have an excess number of damage, that means the minion has to have 2 or less health. Like I said in the expansion announcement video, it's actually not very hard to satisfy overkill. You can just trade minions to get an enemy minion within range of this, you can use another spell to get them down, or you can just use this on a small minion that will still get you some value. Unless you need to satisfy that spell only requirement, this is a little weak. Next up is Reign of Toads, 6 mana shaman spell, summon 3 2/4 toads with taunt, and overload 3. God damn it, shaman. You guys had to be the frogs, didn't you? I don't know, this one's kind of weird. While summoning 3 2/4 minions with taunt is pretty nice in terms of stats, this card actually costs 9 mana, which is kinda crazy, and the distribution of stats isn't that great either. 2/4s are good at killing small minions, but bigger minions just quickly kill them and barely take any damage themselves. Maybe this is worth it with overload synergies, maybe if aggro is rampant, this could be a good card to help in defense, but in reality, I think this is kind of a bust for shaman. Next up is Pyromaniac, 3 mana 3/4 minion for mage that reads, whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. You know what, I can appreciate this card's concept. It ties in with the hero power buffing, whether that's with Baku or with Icy Touch. And it could really work in any sort of deck, especially a tempo one looking for more card draw. The thing is, I think mage might have enough card draw already, and that's kind of weird to say, but with Stargazer Luna and the weapon, and a bunch of other ways to draw cards, this seems like one of the weaker options. 3 mana 3/4 is perfectly fine tempo, but the hero power seems a bit niche and something you'd kind of have to work in perfectly. But also thinking about this, it really puts your opponent on edge. Having this minion out there means that at any point you can set up a play to get yourself some more draw. And if you're playing an aggressive tempo deck, your opponent will want to deal with this so that you can't take advantage of it. I think this card's going to be amazing in Arena, and I think it could be a cheeky little tool for a tempo mage to use in Standard. Up next is Hex Lord Malek, 8 mana 5/5 legendary troll champion dude for mage with the battle cry, add a copy of your opening hand to your hand. Except this card. Not only are you adding 3 or 4 cards to your hand, but it's also cards that you strategically put in your deck, so they should work with your other cards and they also should be pretty good. But at the same time, it's an 8 mana 5/5. I'm pretty sure it's after you mulligan, meaning it's the cards that you have in your hand when you start the first turn. But you're also trying to pick cards in the beginning that will help you tempo out and compete with your opponent. That means this card's probably not going to get you a lot of high card minions unless you're unlucky enough to mulligan into one. Or I guess if you're trying to strategize and specifically choose to keep a big minion so that this can get you value later. This is definitely a value-based card, but it's a weird type of consistency that I don't know if it's really going to help that much. It's super slow, I think it requires a super controlling deck, and so maybe Mage is the best type of class to try this out. Maybe my opinion will be turned around once I play this, but to me it seems like kind of a boring card. And the last card for this evening is Cannon Barrage. 6 mana rogue spell that deals 3 damage to a random enemy and then repeats for each of your pirates. It seems like they're trying to bring back a pirate synergy into Rogue. I guess it makes sense considering their spirit is a shark. This card has the potential to be really powerful, but it relies so heavily on what pirates are printed. Rogue runs a few pirates in their decks, not really for their tribe, but because they're decent statted minions, or they go with the game plan of the deck. I don't think it's enough though for Cannon Barrage to really land. I think you need at least 2 other pirates out on the board consistently for this card to be good. There might be some cheeky combo in Rogue that fills their board with pirates, and then this card can deal up to 24 damage. Again, the damage is 3 damage apiece at a random enemy, so you don't know when it's going to hit minions and when it's going to hit face. I think it's an odd card right now, but it definitely shows us the direction they're going with this class, this expansion. It'll be interesting to see what cards they put around this to get it to work, and if it does work, I hope it has some cool animations. Those are all of the cards we know of for now. Like and subscribe so you can be updated as more cards come out. Check out my video with more information on the expansion and 4 other cards that were revealed. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, ta-ta.